Today you're going to meet a woman who used baking to help her recover from a traumatic injury, and then one of the most wonderful things that she likes to bake. She's going to share that recipe with us. And if you're thinking about yoga, we've got Yoga 101.
It's like I'm seeing all the blue skies, and I'm walking on the edge tonight. It feels so right, and I'm glad you're here. Glad you're here. Rebecca Rainier.
Welcome to Full Plate. I'm Rebecca Rainier, and just like the song says, I am so glad you're here. And I'm so glad you're here, Pam Hayes.
Well, thank you for having me, Rebecca.
Your story is inspirational. It's got baking in it.
It does.
It ends with a chocolate cake. Every possible thing is in your story. So I want, before we talk about what you're going to bake today, let's talk about your story. You are someone who had a traumatic injury. Talk about what happened to you.
Well, I was thrown off the back of a motorcycle 20 feet in the air and landed on my head. So I ended up with 2 skull fractures, 2 neck breaks, and 9 broken bones in my back. So truly I'm a walking miracle. But the injury that affected me the most, and still to this day, is the severe traumatic brain injury that I had from it.
So how long ago was it?
It was 13 years ago.
13 years ago. And what do you remember of it? Do you remember anything about it?
The only thing is that when I hear a helicopter, I get a rush over me because I was taken by life flight. So there is something
So
stored in my
medevac
memory.
to the
Yes,
hospital.
everything I know about it, I've been told about it.
Okay, so that's probably a good kind of
It is a
protect
protection,
yourself.
I do believe. Yes, I wouldn't want to know how loud I was screaming when I was flying through the air.
Were you on the highway or?
I was on the Blue Ridge Parkway of West Virginia, so it was only 35 miles an hour, but the scary thing is the traffic is so heavy there that it was just a blessing that I didn't get run over.
Did you have a helmet on?
I did have a helmet, but I found out later that the helmet that was given to me was not a regulation helmet, so it did not protect my head. It might have kept me alive, but it did not protect my head like it should have.
So this is 13 some years ago, and
Right.
you wake up in the hospital in West Virginia.
Right, and I don't
Explain.
know a thing that's going on.
You don't know what's going on. You're totally disoriented?
Right, and I guess I was screaming out a lot. It was on my honeymoon. I'm since divorced, but it was on my
It
honeymoon.
was not a good start, let's just say.
No, it wasn't a good start or a good end. But you know, it was. I was just screaming. I was totally like in and out of consciousness, and then I was let go after 4 days.
They sent you home?
That nothing was wrong with me, but a spot of blood on my brain.
And that's it.
And that's it. And then I got home. I had a breathing machine because I couldn't breathe. I couldn't walk. I couldn't read. And I started having headaches. So I called, somebody called, not me, the doctor. And we went in and they said 24 hours, you'd have been dead.
If you would not have called.
Right. 'cause
If
your
you've
brain-
not have heeded those symptoms.
If I would not have heeded those symptoms.
So you go in and they do tell you all of these things.
Correct.
So what's your next step? Did you have to have surgery? What was your beginning recovering process?
Well, and remember, it's 13 years ago, and we have come a long way, but we have a long way to go to understand brain injury because it is unique to each individual. So I was not given any treatments except for steroids, and I was told, we don't do brain transplants, you just have to learn to live your life. That is the quote. And so I thought,
That's helpful. Sarcasm
live
from
my
your medical
life.
profession.
I don't even know how to get out of the office. I'm not sure if I even drove here today. So
Wow.
I had to come up with a plan. And it's interesting that I got a job years back being a voc rehab counselor without a degree in that. And I know why I was a vocational counselor, because I used those skills to help myself come back, and that's how the baking came in.
So we're going to talk about the baking here, then, but you've now made recovery for anything like this is ongoing.
Yes,
It's something
there
the
is
rest
no
of your life.
recovery. I call it a joyful renewal because I am renewed. I am a new Pam, but I'm very happy, and I'm very. I've made my place in the world with who I am today, and I don't regret even having a brain injury because of what I've gone on to do.
So we're going to talk about the baking and how it played into things, but I want people to know then what you do. Your vocation is really, it's your calling now. You had a brain injury, and so something about our military veterans spoke to you. What was the connection that you made?
Well, I had been researching brain injury for 9 years because when I would read a book, I would read it from the back to the front when I started to be able to read. So I would go chapter after chapter until I realized, I think I'm doing something wrong.
I'm reading it backwards.
Yeah, so I tried, I've never been online, so I tried to go online and see if I could read, thinking that might help.
Because it's up and down.
It's up and down. So I went online, and what I found that I could read little bit of sentences, but I would click off a page and go to another page on brain injury and go to another page on brain injury, but I was still gaining all this information. So that's how I brought myself back to read. And then I was so obsessed with learning about what was going on in my head because people kept saying, well, you look fine, everything's great. And inside I knew from my view out, it was totally different. So I gained all this knowledge. Well, about 9 years of that and living a lot in my pajamas, I did pray. I prayed a lot and said, God, I don't want this to be my legacy. I don't want to be the brain injured grandma, the brain injured mom or friend. I need more. And so I went back online and I read more about brain injury. And I thought, I'm going to start a seminar company because I have done that before. Well, it didn't get me out of bed on my sick days because I have nausea, back pain, all kinds of stuff, dizziness. So then I went back online, read some more, and in April 9th of 2009, I read the military was just starting to come out with all this about brain injury.
All the research that they do and the advances because of
Absolutely.
injuries nowadays in the military. There are a lot of closed head wounds. There's a lot of research in this area.
Absolutely.
And you could see the connection at that point.
I could see the connection, and I felt it being put on my heart that, Pam, you're going to work with the military, and I thought for sure that was the biggest mistake, but that's what I was called to do.
And so you founded the name. Let's talk about your charity a little bit. Dancing with the Military Stars.
Yes, the Armed Forces is the name of the charity,
Okay.
and of course we know that the armed forces are the military, but we're the armed forces. We hug people and hopefully give them hope. And so it was an organization I founded, but actually it's veterans all across the country that really helped us design the programs that we have because it was based on their needs, not what we thought was right.
What does the Armed Forces provide? What type comfort do you offer from your organization?
Well, we call them life navigation coaching. So basically that's what I wish I would have had too, is somebody to help me navigate my life, you know, because
After the injury.
After the injury,
Okay.
because there's these services out there, everything is hard to navigate. You give someone a brochure,
Right, and they're reading it backwards. Like, I mean,
they're
it's
reading
like-
it backwards, or they're tossing it because they don't want to read, or they
Right.
forget where it's at, or they just forget that that's a resource available to them. So we're the hub that really gets them to anything they need. So we've done everything from, we got a court-martial canceled because
Wow.
the testimony I received from a sergeant major where they were court-martialing someone with PTSD.
Wow.
We've helped in other cases. We have a case in front of the Supreme Court of Ohio right now for a local veteran here in Toledo, Ohio. And we have helped with marriages. We have a family program that helps with the marriages. And we are available whenever, and we text and we Facebook and all of that.
You are there, hands-on with these veterans who come home with these injuries and need support, and the first steps towards what that support is and how to access it. And your big thing is Dancing with the Military Stars. That's one of your big fundraisers, which is awesome. Very fun, very play on Dancing with the Stars.
Yes.
All right, so you've done this amazing thing. You're offering this ongoing support for military veterans. When we come back, we're going to talk about the baking, how baking in the kitchen led to your recovery and how you used it. And I think this is totally creative, amazing, wonderful. So stay with us. We'll be right back.